Welcome to the Sports Philanthropy Podcast. I am your host, Roy Kessel, and today we are very excited to have with us Sae Tautu. Sae is the founder of the Pursuit Foundation and has a strong sports background, and we're excited to hear about the great work that he's doing. So, Sae, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
We're excited to learn more about what's going on with the Pursuit Foundation, but I want to back you up to when Sae was a little kid. What first got you excited as a young boy about sports?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, when I was born, my dad was playing football here in Utah at Snow College and then at the University of Utah. So, I grew up going to his games, and just football was kind of everything from the time I was a little kid. So, my dad asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up when I was like 5 years old, and I was like, I want to be a professional football player. Like, I knew that was, something I wanted to pursue from a really young age.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of times we see those desires change really quickly. Kids are in the fall they're football players, and in the winter they're basketball, and in the spring they're something else. So, you take us through a little bit of your background as you grew up. What sports did you play?
Yeah, as a kid, I played, basketball, baseball, football. In high school, I was a rugby player, and actually, rugby became a big passion of mine. I loved it because it's different from football. If you want to be a running back in rugby, then go be a running back. If you want to be a linebacker, go tackle somebody. You want to be a kicker, kick the ball. So rugby was a lot of fun. I think that helped me develop a lot as an athlete. But yeah, football was always my favorite. And one thing I didn't realize until way later in life is how blessed I was to have parents that just fed my dreams, right? I told them I loved the game. I wanted to be a professional football player. I wanted to play D1 football. And, we all know that the percentage of players that make it to that level is really low. But, I had parents that were like, yeah, you can do anything. You can do anything. So back at a time where had somebody, put doubt in my mind, it might have changed my course. I had parents that believed in me. So that's where it all started.
Well, that's great that they had that belief, and when you look back at the sports that you were playing, right, part of it is interesting to hear what attracted you to those sports, right? There are so many options. You could have been playing any number of sports. What was it that attracted you to each of those sports?
Really, I think football and rugby were the two most attractive to me, and the ones I kind of stuck with the longest. And I'm a Samoan man, and I think us Polynesians were like bred to play contact sports. It comes a little bit more natural to us. We're big bone people, so I always loved hitting. I loved the physical aspect of the game. So yeah, those obviously became my two passions.
Well, and the thing that's interesting is, those continue to grow and develop. There's not many people that sort of hit their career guess correctly from the age of 5 years old. So, take us through as you went through your career growing up there on the football side.
Yeah, it's really cool because I think everybody, if you talk to any football player, any professional athlete at any level, um, even college, there's going to be a lot of times where you just lucked out. You were prepared at the right moment. The right guy saw you. The right coach had you in the right spot. So, yeah, I mean, I worked really hard, and I loved the game. I enjoyed it. I studied. I did my part in becoming a good football player, but there are definitely individuals that helped me, whether it was sponsoring my training or coaches that saw my potential and gave me a shot. One thing people don't really know about me is I went to 3 different high schools. So I went to Kahuku High School in Hawaii, American Fork High School here in Utah, and I graduated at Lone Peak High School. So I played football at 3 different schools, and through transferring and all that, I had to earn a spot on 3 different teams. I had to start at the bottom of the depth chart 3 different times. And going into my senior, I had 0 college offers. I'd flown under the radar. Nobody knew who I was. And I actually went to a couple summer camps. Back then it was different. Now these kids go to 7-on-7 camps or like a day of non-padded camp. We used to do like 2-a-day practices for a week at a college, and then you go to a different college for a week and do 2-a-days and just beat up your body basically all of June and July. And so my senior year, before that season, I went to all the local camps here in Utah, and that's where I actually made a name for myself and earned a couple scholarship offers, and the rest is history. But BYU was my very first college offer. When Bronco Mendenhall brought me in his office and offered me, I committed right away because the goal was D1, and it finally happened for me. But yeah, it's one of those things, man. I did everything in my control to make things go right, but at the end of the day, like, there is a little bit of luck involved. You get in front of the right coach, or so Justin Enna is a coach at BYU now. He was a coach at SUU during that camp, and he was the first one to approach me, and he's like, "Who are you? How come we've never heard of you?" And he was going to offer me to go to SUU, and then he actually told me that, you're good enough that you could play here at BYU. So as much as I'd love to take you down to SUU, let's get you talking to Bronco and these guys, and let them have their shot at you. So like I said, a couple guys that just gave me a shot and lucked out to get an offer at the end of high school. And but I think everybody has that as a high level athlete. There's always been someone that stepped in and helped you out at a crucial time.
Well, it's interesting because so often I tell people, when you really want to hear the difference between elite greatness, like a Hall of Fame, right, and not even making it to the league, right? So many of the players, when you hear the enshrinement speeches, talk about a coach that figuratively or literally kind of grabbed them by the back of the collar and pulled them back on track, right? And you talk about getting the opportunity starting from the bottom of the depth chart 3 different times, but you obviously did something right. So when you look back at that, that's a hard climb to get that right one time, right? With one staff, you were able to create a perception and a reality for yourself that you were doing this right 3 different places. So as you look back at that, what did you do that differentiated you at those summer camps? Because as you said, there's hundreds of kids there.
Yeah, you use 2 words that I really like. You use reality and perception. And this is something that I didn't realize when I was going through it. It was something I kind of picked up on afterwards. But I had a vision as a kid of where I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, and what type of player I wanted to be. And that came from watching a lot of football. But back to what I said at the beginning, it came from having parents that helped me create that vision, helped me see a world where I was a high-level football player. And so it was having a vision in mind and being obsessed with that vision that I was the best guy on that team. I was the best guy in the camp. I deserved to be there. And, I did things to ensure that vision came to reality. So from the way I worked out and the way I stayed in shape and watched the game, watched film, to even at those camps, a lot of time at those camps, they would take all the kids that have offers, all the best players, and they'd put them on one team when it's time to scrimmage. And I assume they do that just so all the coaches can watch one team and see how their kids are scouting. I made it a point to be on the opposite team of that one every single time. So I didn't stay on the same team the whole time. I made sure I was on the team that was playing them over and over and over again, because I knew that's where the coaches were and that's who they wanted to see. And I knew that was the highest competition there. So I think just having a vision in mind, a goal in mind, being obsessed with that vision to the point where I was willing to step out of the rules, if you will, of the camp and put myself in a position to get what I wanted. In retrospect, that's what made the difference. Had I not done those couple of things at that camp, I don't know if those offers would have come or the attention would have come.
Well, but you raised some really important things, which is, number one, it doesn't matter where you start. because as you said, you started at the bottom of that depth chart, right? The perception of you coming in, they didn't have one because, as you said, the coach was asking you, where are you from? How did you get here? Like if we haven't heard of you, right? In today's world, even more than when you were there with the technology and everything, the coaches are pretty well aware. Part of the reason those camps have dropped off is there's enough film and enough other reality, but you still can't see how does somebody battle live and in person. You get a very different feel for what that player and their intensity and commitment is. You can see certain things on film, but you can't look in their eye in the same way that you do. Um, as you went through, take us through a little bit of your college career and beyond.
Yeah, so I ended up at BYU. Like I said at the beginning, my dad was a University of Utah guy, so we grew up diehard Ute fans. And if anybody knows Utah, the Holy War it's a big rivalry here. So when I went to BYU, that was like a big shocker to our whole family, but it ended up being the right decision for me. My recruiting class, those guys are still my best friends today, 15 years later. But I went to BYU, played outside linebacker, and my senior year they bumped me to D end. That was Kalani Sitake's first year at BYU. Was my last year there. But yeah, we were an independent team at the time. I didn't love not being in a conference, but the upside of being an independent team is we got to play a lot of cool teams in a lot of cool places. Played Notre Dame a couple times. We played Texas. We played Mississippi State. We played Michigan and Nebraska. So like the cool thing about not being in a conference is I got to travel all around the country, play at some of the coolest stadiums in the country. And yeah, I loved it there. I had some really awesome teammates. I was able to play behind Kyle Van Noy my first couple of years. I backed him up and was able to watch how good he played and learn a lot from him and the way he approached the game. Alani Fua, Fred Warner, those were other guys that were in our linebacker room. So we had a lot of talent there. It was a lot of fun, and I got to be surrounded by a lot of great men. So BYU was awesome. From there, I signed a free agent deal with the New Orleans Saints, and I was there, and unfortunately my career was a short one. I had a knee injury, and as a free agent, you don't have a lot of shots. But I was able to be there and to see how players at that level function and how they prepare for the game and how they not just attack the game, but attack their life. And it was really cool because there's not very many times in life that you get to be in a room with that many guys that are successful at what they do. And there's a lot of parallels. They do things differently than your everyday person. Easy examples would be just the way they prepare for games, the amount of film that's watched, the way they take care of their body, the extent they go to take care of their health, the amount of time and money they spend on massages and ice baths and all the different rehab things available to them. The way they feed their body, their nutrition, their supplements, like they really take very, very good care of themselves, and that's why they can perform at the level they do. So loved the opportunity to be there and learn.
Well, you learn so much by being on the inside, right, compared to looking and seeing about the game. And I think one of the things over the years we've seen is the enormous amount of effort and dedication that athletes put into everything that they do to be successful. You don't get to be an elite college athlete or a professional athlete by chance or by mistake. There's very few that are so super gifted that they can sort of get away with slacking off. You look at the better players in the leagues, right? Their work ethic is legendary, right? Whether you want to talk about Michael Jordan or Jerry Rice or, in any given Wayne Gretzky in any given league, right? The amount of time and effort that the players put in. And we see that as well on the side of giving back and philanthropy, which is one of the things the athletes really have a passion for, but they've never historically been supported in doing that. So take us through your vision and how you started the Pursuit Foundation.
Yeah, so the Pursuit Foundation, it gave me a passion and a purpose again after football ended. So one thing, if you're an athlete and you stop playing your sport, and nobody else really kind of understands the magnitude of it, is you spend 20 plus years with one single goal and purpose in mind, and in the matter of a couple seconds, that it's gone. And so I got into the medical device field, and I was selling medical devices, and I noticed that there's different levels of care that anyone can get. And I wanted to find a solution for athletes so they could find top-notch care, similar to what college and NFL players are getting, so that we can keep them on the field. And one of the things that we noticed was an issue was that a lot of players, especially at the high school level, they don't have the financial means to receive that type of care, or if they have insurance, the deductibles would put their family in a very tough situation. And I didn't come from a household with a lot of money, and so I knew what it was like as an athlete to be injured and have that financial pressure. So the Pursuit Foundation is something we came up with. We partner with a company called OrthoAthlete, and OrthoAthlete is a concierge service where we connect athletes with the best doctors for their injury, physical therapists, and personal trainers to get them back into sports. The Pursuit Foundation is a 501c3 where we raise funds to scholarship kids through that program. That way, if an athlete gets hurt, no one's left behind. We can take all of them, get them to that top-notch care, make sure that they are, from the time they're injured to the time they're playing again, everything's taken care of, and they are seeing the right people. And, we can push the envelope on that rehab and get them back as soon as we can.
So when you were starting this, right, you're going through the medical device space, and you're seeing some things from the inside, and you're really getting an idea of how expensive good care can be, right? If people don't have the insurance or the resources to do that. But there's lots of ways for you to make a difference. How did you decide that this was your passion? This was what you were going to use your skills for?
Yeah, so me and the guy that I work for with OrthoAthlete, I took on the Pursuit Foundation with him because there's not very many people that could do it, if I'm being honest. That's why it became a passion. Is I had the experience as a football player, the knowledge of what it's like to be injured as a football player. I knew what it was like to have an agent that takes care of all the medical stages for me, that's calling and setting things up. You're familiar with that, Roy. So I knew what that side looked like. And I also knew what the medical device side and the surgeries and the difference of implants. And the joke we always say is, like, women get plastic surgery and they know a ton about their plastic surgeon, their implants, the warranties on their implant. They know everything. And then the high-level athlete will tear his ACL, and they just go to whoever. And so what I learned in medical device sales is there's a difference between the types of grafts you can get in your knee. There's a difference in how we can rehab people depending on what you get. There's side effects to different harvests. Like, as I started to realize that, I realized, oh my gosh, we're so uneducated in the athletic space on what's happening, and our bodies are everything. And so as somebody that's been through injuries, understands the athletic side of it, and now understands the surgical side of it, I had a unique little scope of influence here that I think that's where my talents are best used, is helping people navigate those situations. And you know how it is as an athlete. Like I brought up earlier, when your career ends, like it is a identity crisis for a second there. And so I know from experience, when you get injured and you see your team out there performing and you're stuck not performing, like that's a heavy thing. The last thing I need for these kids is that they're worried about their position. They're worried about if they're going to be able to play again, and they don't know if they can get surgery because it's a cost issue. So that's where we stepped in. That's why it's a passion of mine. I feel like it's something that I'm kind of chosen to do and fits multiple of my passions.
Well, congratulations in getting that off to a flying start and using the skill set that you've developed to help so many people. So, we're sitting here today recording this. Take us on a preview. What do you see happening over the next 24 to 36 months?
Yeah, so the next 24 to 36 months right now, our network is really just in Utah, some of Idaho and Wyoming. I'm hoping in the next 24 to 36 months that we expand that network well beyond Utah, and that this can be more of something that can help people all over the place. I think there's a need for it. I think people will share the passion I have for it. It's just a matter of building it out correctly and getting the word out that, we're doing this and we're helping people and we're raising money and trying to bring value as much as we can. But yeah, the vision for the next 2 to 3 years is to take what we have here in this community and grow it.
Well, I think it's something that, from what you look at from your perspective, right? You're starting where you are locally, but this is something that really applies all over the country and around the world. There's so many communities where the athletes don't have that knowledge. Like you said, they don't have all the details of what kind of grafts they need and what kind of service and care and rehabilitation is going to give them the best result, right? We see every week in the NFL, for example, elite players getting injured and hurt, right? And the distinguishing factor between those that come back well and those that don't, right, is that dedicated commitment to the rehabilitation process. So, you've been through it, you've seen it. What do you think that means? What are those athletes doing differently than the ones that struggle?
Well, I think what those athletes do differently is they're seeing the right people. They're seeing people that they're seeing surgeons that don't care about the price tag on what that surgery is going to cost, that aren't facilities that are trying to nickel and dime every single surgery to save the most amount of money. Like, they're going to places that really want the best thing for the athlete. Now, if you're not an athlete, if you're not going to go run and juke and do all those things, like, a lot of these surgeries are just fine for the average person. The difference is when a wide receiver tears his ACL, the day he's cleared to come back, he's going to be antsy to go again, and he's going to be sprinting full speed, cutting, jumping, running over people. Like, the amount of torque that these guys see on their joints is insane, and they're bigger, stronger, and faster than ever. And so the biggest difference is they go to surgeons that are willing to put the right technology in there with the most cutting edge techniques. Then there's biologic factors. I mean, you got guys doing platelet rich plasma, you have stem cells, you have all sorts of things that you can add to that surgery to help give it a biological factor to make it heal quicker. And then as far as PT goes, our PT is all very data driven. We want to know what the numbers are, how strong is your operative leg compared to your non-operative leg. We want to test it as much as we can, because the days of saying you tore your ACL, you're out for a year, those are over. Now, if you're getting the right stuff done, you tore your ACL, well, let's see how fast your quads are growing. Let's see how fast your leg's coming back compared to your other one, and then accelerate as needed. So, to put a hard stamp on it, you're out for a whole year, that's kind of a thing of the past if you're getting the right care and going to the right PTs. But that's really the difference, is the surgeon doing cutting edge techniques with the correct technology, and then PTs that are doing PT that's data driven. You know, the last thing I hate when I see athletes go into physical therapy at like a big hospital or something, and there's a bunch of 80-year-olds doing the rotator cuffs from their total joint rehab, and that's not an environment for an athlete to get the rehab he needs. If you're in the NFL,
yeah, I mean that's not the energy they need, right?
no. And if you're in the NFL and you get hurt, you're at the facility every day in the training room, and they are, you know, you're surrounded by athletes and people are trying to get you back on the field. So that's what we're trying to create within OrthoAthlete, and then the Pursuit Foundation is just ensuring everybody has access to that.
Well, Sae, thank you so much for sharing all of that information. I think it's great work that you're doing, and we're excited to see how Sports Philanthropy Network can partner with you to disperse more of these services and get you in front of more people, because I know that there's a huge need for it.
I appreciate your help, Roy. Thank you for having me on.
So now we want to change directions for a little bit and put you on the spot here to end the show. And we're going to wave our magic wand and use our superpowers for good here. So if we could make you commissioner of any sport, tell us what sport that would be.
All right. I'd be the commissioner of the NFL.
All right. So you've now walked into 345 Park Avenue, and you've moved Roger out of his office. What's your first course of action? What are you going to do?
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to copy the Premier League in Europe, and the bottom two teams of the NFL every year out, and the top two college teams in.
I don't know if we can do it with college, but I love the promotion relegation model. I think it would make it really interesting. I think there'd be a different sense of urgency for some of the teams. You know, we won't pick on the Jets and, some of the others that have come down there for a while. But, can you imagine getting to those last couple of weeks of the NFL season and having a team on the line dropping out of the NFL and the money and the TV contracts and down to, the second tier league, whether we decide to call it the UFL or the XFL or whatever it's going to end up being, right? There would be another league, and it would be really interesting to see what would happen and how those teams would build and grow and acquire talent, because, you can't really do that right now with the draft and the current infrastructure of the collective bargaining agreement, but it would really put some urgency right in some of those ownership groups.
Yeah, I mean, I just wave my magic wand around and make it work out somehow, but I think that would definitely it'd make Las Vegas a lot of fun.
Well, it would be really interesting. So, Sae, thank you so much for jumping on with us today. We appreciate that. Keep up the great work. And for all of our viewers and listeners, we've got this information. So tell people where they can get more details about your work.
Yeah, our website is thepf.org. We have a lot of good videos on there and testimonials of the kids we've helped. You can apply there if you need the financial assistance. Like I said, right now, Utah is kind of where we're at. We're looking to grow this quickly. And you can also donate at that same website. So that's where you can see us.
Terrific. Well, Sae, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And for all of our viewers and listeners, this is your host, Roy Kessel, signing off for Sports Philanthropy Network. Please remember to live generously.